Imagine a planet covered in lava with orange oceans and deserts as vast as all our continents. Is this a newly discovered world, or our own at a different time? Today, let's go discover the forgotten landscapes erased by time that history has given us. A journey through past landscapes. Though they seem alien, they once existed on our world. Let's look at the darker side of the scenery by imagining ourselves in 81. If you stepped out of a hypothetical time machine at that time, the first thing you'd probably do is get right back in. Standing on Earth's surface at the start of 81, about 4.5 billion years ago, would mean watching it melt in seconds, because Earth is covered by a magma ocean about 300 kilometers deep. There is no moon in the sky, but soon the primitive Earth will collide with an object the size of Mars. The impact, of incredible violence, will send rocks into orbit that will clump together to form the moon. For millions of years, the blue planet is actually red, a slowly cooling ball of liquid rock. In this apocalyptic landscape with toxic air, days last 6 hours and you could see 4 sunsets daily. Enough to make even little princes dizzy, who would have enjoyed the thousands of emerging volcanoes on Ramon. After forming, the moon is a glowing ball much closer to Earth than now, appearing almost insistent. Strangely, since then, it has moved away from us as fast as our fingernails grow. The star is so close that its tidal forces can raise both the ground and molten rock, creating lava tides on Earth. Yet, gradually over time, the surface will cool down. 100 million years after the moon formed, Earth's temperature dropped enough for water to stay liquid. Hot oceans, nearly boiling, are formed. In this steamy world with its thick hot air, it always rains burning drops. It's like living in a pressure cooker. The sun in the sky is pale and lacks today's intensity. Stars are dimmer when they're young. This was 4.1 billion years ago. The late bombardment starts, streaking through dark, dusty, vapor-filled skies. The Earth, still partly molten, constantly erupts. You could feel the world's pulse there. On the horizon, there are no mountains except for volcanoes, no relief, no plate movement, no continents. In early Archean times, the atmosphere remains charged as massive storms continuously sweep the globe. For millions of years, the Earth is constantly ravaged by winds of tremendous power. The saturated air and constant rain let little sunlight through. Only frequent lightning briefly reveals anything through the veiled sky. The moon remains close to Earth, causing frequent tides over 100 meters high. From space, our blue planet looks like a cotton sea with vast, swirling cloud systems. In this hostile environment, as things calm down, cyanobacteria, the first known life forms, appeared 3.8 billion years ago. Strange structures from their activities appear on the first continent's shores. Beneath the clouds, the Archean Ocean, rich in iron, is probably red or purple, a shade it will keep until life comes along to paint it with its own brush. Primitive life forms will slowly release oxygen, which combines with dissolved ocean iron and transforms landscapes. The world rusts, turning the oceans orange. Now let's switch color to explore a white planet from 650 million years ago. It is believed that at that time, the Earth was completely covered in ice. From space, it likely looked like a snowball with only a thin band of liquid water at the equator. Elsewhere, a frozen world of icy oceans and continents 110 million years later in the Cambrian period. As the continents take on this arrangement, the world begins to look like the one we know. The skies and oceans are blue. The length of the day is 20 hours and 30 minutes. As far as the eye can see, forgotten landscapes stretch out. Earth has massive canyons and mountains, some rivaling the Himalayas' tallest peaks. Cliffs, plains, and clear rivers winding through valleys. Even here, the sense of being an alien on your own planet remains. Look closer, something is off. Life feels absent, the land is empty, and all life stays in the water. No moss, no plants, no creatures in the open air. Rocks and sand share this vast continent. Only the wind and occasional rain keep us company. Mineral silence. 100 million years later, we witness the end of the Ordovician and the start of the Silurian. The Earth is then a gigantic ocean, an aggregate of small continents surrounded by a shallow sea. To the south, there's the Proto-Gondwana, which surely has a mountain range on it, windswept, snow-capped peaks and jagged cliffs frozen like waves. At this time, some plants cautiously emerge from the water onto the shore. The Earth was struck by hyper-energetic rays from the explosion of a star, a supernova located 6,000 light-years away. This extremely rare astronomical explosion released more energy in 10 seconds than 1,000 suns. It's broad daylight, and yet a strange star accompanies our sun. The rays from this Death Star destroy or blow away a large part of the atmosphere. The entire sky catches fire and turns white. In an instant, everything is bathed in an unparalleled light that erases all contrasts and all shadows. Gradually, the sky fills with northern lights, and the whole planet's atmosphere glows for hours. A magnificent yet deadly spectacle, likely causing many species to disappear. Let's jump to the Carboniferous period, when life fully colonized land, shaping what we know today. France was located more or less at the level of the equator 340 million years ago. Parachuting into that time, we'd likely be thigh-deep in a swamp with hot, humid air sticking to our skin. Much of our dead vegetation rests at the bottom of the lush swamps. The smell of slowly rotting wood, the splashing of viscous water, and the rising wind would put our senses to the test. At that time, no bacteria, fungi, or insect larvae existed to decompose this food reserve. Here, everything would rot slowly. During the Carboniferous period, high oxygen levels meant lightning strikes often caused massive, uncontrollable forest fires. This world's oxygen-rich atmosphere makes it more flammable and lets insects and arthropods grow much larger. Here, dragonflies can have 1 meter wingspans, scorpions reach 75 centimeters, and centipedes grow nearly 3 meters long. Knowing that it's better to lose your voice than to be on the verge of extinction, you might consider screaming, or maybe running. The high oxygen level makes exercise easier. If you love bloody sunsets, get ready. 250 million years ago, you could witness one of Earth's greatest eruptions. Lava flows through the Earth's crust to create the Siberian Traps, an area as big as present-day Australia, in just a few 100,000 years. The dust and ash suspended in the air must have colored sunsets all over the world, causing fiery colors on the horizon everywhere in the evening. Skies turned red, volcanoes erupted everywhere. 50 million years later, present-day Europe resembled the Maldives. Vast island herds in a shallow tropical sea with white sand beaches and postcard views. At that time, the Earth was largely covered in lush jungle. In these seemingly familiar plant covers, something stands out. A sense of absence because the sky is empty. The song of birds does not exist yet. Everything is green with few other colors and no flowering plants. 90 million years later, in the late Cretaceous, dense forests and swamps reach the polar regions. The planet is sweating. Continents are now green, with conifers, mosses, and a newcomer mingling. The leafy trees' colorful petals, strong scents, and sweet nectar attract pollinators. Nature's familiar sounds include rustling, buzzing insects, and birds' wings filling the sky. Some trees have fruits that remain untouched, their Cretaceous-era sweet and acidic flavors forever unknown. Yet the presence of dinosaurs nearby might make you lose your appetite. What's the point of eating when you're about to be eaten yourself? 66 million years ago, after being red, blue, and white, our planet turned gray. It was the time for the dust thrown into the atmosphere by the impact of a giant asteroid to settle and dissipate. In some places, it was nearly night during the day for a while. Let's finish as a final stop by discovering the largest basin of all time, the Mediterranean Sea. Dried up. 6 million years ago, tectonic plate movement closed the Strait of Gibraltar, separating Morocco and Spain and cutting the Mediterranean off from the Atlantic Ocean. The Mediterranean Sea gradually evaporated. In some places, it left behind a 2,500 meter deep salt desert 20,000 leagues under the sea now gone. An astonishing sight, a salt crust desert the size of a continent, with here and there gigantic lakes saltier than the Dead Sea is today. To complete the picture, imagine rivers around the Mediterranean kept flowing, carving canyons hundreds of meters deep down to the dried up sea bottom. This salt desert is thought to have existed for 700,000 years before earthquakes reopened the Strait of Gibraltar. This allowed a massive flow of Atlantic seawater to fill the Mediterranean in just a few years. Water was pouring in at 1,000 times the Amazon's flow per second. A huge wall of water could fill a 2,500 meter deep bathtub, raising the Mediterranean Sea by 10 meters daily. Refilling the Mediterranean lowered the average level of other oceans by 6 meters. Even if these hidden beauties are now dust beneath us, and no human has ever seen these landscapes, to these mountains, these rivers, these seas that no one has ever named, let's try to give a second life through imagination. Meanwhile, to recover from these emotions, I'm taking a short trip to the Sahara, just 15,000 years ago, when this region of the world was a vast tropical savanna, grassy and dotted with lakes. To discover the universe's fate, it's here. To see the event that ended the dinosaurs, it's there.